we looked like moving slowly towards lower rates. What we have now is the threat of higher inflation rates. And for this reason, we have to be careful.
Yeah, we have to be careful. And also, Robert, there's even a chance that Europe might do two things which seem extraordinary to all three of us. One, the Germans might adapt the Schuldenbremse to actually start spending some more money. And two, we may well, under this commission, get some form of regulatory reform, according to the likes of what Letta and Draghi have been asking for. We might actually have rules that are fit for purpose in the 21st century. All of that's fairly inflationary, isn't it?
Definitely yes, but I don't think it will happen tomorrow because this will take time to implement. But of course, if the more credible an announcement of a reform, the earlier it may create effects. This afternoon, I will fly out to Brussels for a 2-day visit with the Commission in order to get more information where things are. For the time being, I have seen a number of announcements, but I'm not aware and know where the work actually is.
Yeah, Robert, that's Europe all over, and you know better than I do. We see a lot of announcements. We don't necessarily see the action under the hood. We don't see the engine purring. Do you think it's different this time?
Well, I hope it is different because we don't have too many options like that. And from what I heard, we had recently also Madame von der Leyen for a dinner where we discussed issues there. She seems to be determined, but she has a new group of people around her. Many of the commissioners are new, and it takes some time to get the whole team together. I do hope, and I hope I get this impression over the next 2 days, that Europe had understood the message, so they're really beefing up. If this is the case, then we can hope something. If it is not the case, then we may be in the same situation as we are now.
Governor, I know that the ECB has been very focused on wages. That's still been a bit of a thorn in the side because the negotiations have been somewhat lagging the CPI levels. And if I look at the most recent ECB wage tracker, a peak of 5.4% seen for last year, seen falling to 3.2% this year. Is that an empty promise then? If you're thinking that inflation is going to be a threat this year thanks to tariffs, does that mean fading negotiations around CPI is just an empty promise? In fact, we're going to have more heat in wage negotiations.
I think on the wage side, we are moving towards more rationality. This have at least the latest figures on newly negotiated wages shown. So the wage part seemed to decrease, and it seems to come to a level of about 3%, which is consistent with 1% offer productivity and 2% inflation rate. Of course, the question is whether we will be able to have this 2% of productivity in order to allow this inflation rate to come true.
Governor, we've had a lot of discussions with Governing Council members like yourself about the prospect of 50 basis point rate reduction, that perhaps the ECB is behind the curve. I know you're sounding very hawkish, but not all members see the situation that way. They're very concerned about the growth profile. If you're wrong, and if inflation doesn't materialise and growth is a greater concern, would you be in favour of a 50 basis point rate reduction this year?
I think this would not be a good decision because our job is to deal with inflation, not with growth. And the result of it, reducing the interest rate in order to initiate a higher growth is not the way how we should work and how we are working.